What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Thirsty Thursday edition of Fourth and Go Philly. 4 for 4, plus so much more. I'm Dave Gleckner. That's Marc Tomasini, and we're here for the next 45, 50 minutes, whatever it takes us to talk about all things Philly sports and so much more. There's NFL coaching changes. There's NCAA football. There's Flyers news. There's Sixers. A little bit of Phillies with some arbitration stuff today. But most importantly, we're going to get into the NFL playoffs and the Philadelphia Eagles. Could be a one and done. We'll see. We'll talk. Let me introduce Mark. How you doing tonight, Mark?
What up? What up? It's a Thirsty Thursday, but you know what's not up? The Eagles. They're trending down. We need to get them to trend up, or this is going to be over real quick.
Yeah. So I'm with you, and I've been having a lot of debates and discussions, healthy debates about what's going to happen this week. I was on a show last night, and I'll save it for when we get to the Eagles game and talk about it. But I think there's so many different ways this could go. And obviously, could it go positive? I think there's a 10% chance of that. But, we'll get there. But let's look at what was last week. I'm going to tell you, Mark, right now, it's one of the first Eagles games that I barely watched. I got about 5 minutes. And I say that only because my son had a baseball practice at 5 o'clock that day. So we watched the first 4:25, got the first two possessions, and then I was out listening to it on the radio, 7-0. Got in the room. I started doing some catcher training, 10-0. Or it was 3-0, then 10-0, then 17-0. Then we're doing some pitcher work, 24-0. At that point, I just put the phone away. I said, This is it. And everybody I talked to when I walked out of the room that night was, from my wife to my neighbors to my friends, thank God you didn't see any of that. And you know what? I do thank God. You can tell me how it went because it looked brutal.
It was so simple for them to get the 2 seed, to be comfortable, even at forget San Francisco, even forget getting the 1 seed. It was so simple to get to, and really all they had to do, and it's just funny looking back at it. I know I'm kind of revisiting history real quick, but just easily just beat Seattle, beat Arizona, not that hard. You're not even in a position where you have to try here. And you come into this game. Now, I know they kind of were Cowboys are probably going to beat Washington, but I mean,
no matter.
But even that, you need, if you're going to play your starters, you're going to put your starters out there, try. At least get some. If you knew you were probably only going to play a half, play it hard. Play it like it meant something. Build some momentum. Get the offense going.
You need good vibes, right? You needed good vibes. You needed some success. Right. You need something that
you need to see the ball go into the end zone. You need to see them do some things on offense. Pretty much, Dave, the Giants just sent the house, and the Eagles could do absolutely nothing about it. That's what it was. That was the game, and also the Giants wide receivers were wide open. That was the game. That was it.
Yeah, no, I got you. And the blitz, I did see Wink sending it, and this is funny. They're obviously going to win the Super Bowl. Yeah, and then followed up with, Wink just and as soon as Jalen saw it, because I did see it for the first two possessions, out of the pocket and backwards, and then right or left, it didn't matter. He has no awareness. Now, listen, in his defense, maybe I'd have to check the all 22s. They might not be no hot routes. They might all be 10 yards down the field, and then you got no time, right, to really do anything. But if there are some routes that he's running away from, God, for a third year in the league, you got to be able to. These are so predictable too. You can see him, the cornerback coming from a mile out.
Right. I would say it's 50-50 in regards to what they did. I think they missed a lot of blitz pickup, whether it was the running back not getting there on time or Wink just sending the blitz to where we all know Jalen mostly works out of the shotgun. There's no 3-step drops. He doesn't have his hot routes. He doesn't. I saw something damning, I think yesterday on Twitter. I forget where, and I can't pull it up at the moment. But they were saying, somebody was saying that Sirianni doesn't call hot route-ish types of plays. The one thing about Nick, his last name is Sirianni, and my phone always starts going Siri when I do it.
Yeah.
So annoying. Anyway, the issue is somebody made the comparison of what Nick did as OC in Indy with Phillip Rivers in 2020. He had hot routes all over the place, and they went to those all the time. Difference here is somebody said Jalen can't go to those, and Nick doesn't call it because he knows that Jalen can't go to those. Apparently, that's what's been going on. So last year, everything all pulled in their favor. When teams start to figure it out, he doesn't have enough time to hit his receivers, and he's not even looking their way most of the time. He doesn't have his hot routes that he can just go to. And that's the stuff that you and I think were worried about before he ascended. That's what we were worried about. And now it's coming back to fruition because, again, just like with the Mike Vicks of the world, the Wildcats of the world, you get figured out. And I'm not saying Jalen Hurts is a gimmick at all, but you get figured out. And they figured out what the Eagles do best, and now they've shut it down.
Yeah, to an extent, and I don't disagree with that at all. But but it's funny that you say that and use the word "they," and I get it. You're talking the whole NFL. Yet they were 10-1. Yet they were scoring 38 points against the Bills. They were, they were doing well. They beat the Cowboys, one of the best teams in the league. The Chiefs. It's just this last little kind of, I don't know, stretch here. Did the Niners figure us out? I don't know, but it's a reasonable question to ask because
I think that's
did they take those blueprints? All that's going to get washed out in the end of the season. We'll figure it out then. But really, what troubles me now going into this big game coming up this weekend, actually Monday night down in Tampa, is that you just don't like. I don't even care what you say about the way the teams play because we all know it's trash. But it just doesn't seem like there's any urgency either on the field. They just seem lost, listless, not even fighting for each other. That's where I have problems. Then I see Sirianni going to this press conference, and he has the audacity to tell us, can't forget about the start of the season, right? We can't throw it away. All these teams want to be where I am today. Yes, we can throw it away. It's how you finish and how you are going into the playoffs. To even bring that point up, I should can your ass now.
Right. They always say that. It's not about how you start, it's about how you finish. Yes. That's how all the hot teams that win the Super Bowl, and a lot of them are wild card teams, it's because they're playing the right football at the right time. You have the team as a whole has completely regressed and gone backwards. They're doing the complete opposite of what they were doing at the beginning of the year. What's going to make us think that they can just turn it on? Now it's the playoffs. Like you got Dallas Goedert slipping up and saying, we've kind of been on cruise control since we clinched. But the thing is, this whole team, it's all breaking down because they're contradicting themselves. Like Dallas is saying that, Jason's saying, everybody talking about this nuanced stuff. We don't tuck our shirts in when we practice or whatever. That's irritating me. So now you got two. Jason saying they're going hard. Dallas is saying they're not. Jalen and Nick aren't on the same page. They don't talk a lot as quarterback and coach. I mean, this team is just in shambles right now. You got Darius Slay talking about the fan. Like, it's the whole thing is a nightmare. And Jalen hasn't done anything to quiet any of the noise. And I think that's the one thing that we've been looking for is when's he going to step up and be the vocal leader? Again, he doesn't have to be rah-rah. We've talked about this before, but he is kind of just like doing his own thing and doing the cliches and whatever he wants. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm putting on my thinking glasses right now for this part because it's real, right? You're exactly right. Today, Jalen did speak up a little bit, but it was about Nick Saban, and there is a point when this mild-mannered quarterback that we loved and seems like nothing bothers him needs to kind of flip a switch. And wouldn't now be the time after you lost 5 or 6 in a row, 5 out of 6? To bad team, 2 in a row to bad teams. Wouldn't now be the time to maybe get a little attitude and spark things up? Because I think we need it. And so I think your point is very valid. Now, as far as Sirianni goes, just curious, because we'll get into the game in a minute. There was a little noise the other day, I think came out of Dan Graziano, ESPN, and some others that, his seat's warm, especially if they lose. Do you believe that there is a possibility that Nick could get fired? Because this is why I'm putting on the thinking glasses here. I think it's possible.
I think it's possible, but you got to look at it in 2 different ways. Like you got to look at for an incumbent coach who comes after. Like, and I think a lot of people have said it. What's the precedent? Why would I want to come in here if I'm an established guy, be the coach? I've gone to the playoffs all 3 years. I've been the coach. went to the Super Bowl, pretty much am a fumble away from winning the Super Bowl, and now I'm going to get canned after making the playoffs. Like, what coach is going to want to come into that? And it's true that that Howie and Jeff are running the show, and they're just hiring a yes man. So you're going to have that issue. And I think another issue that you deal with is you're not going to get a prime candidate. There's so many candidates out there this year, and I think a lot that are worthy for the job. We'll talk about later all these shakeups. I think the Eagles, being in the playoffs, they're not going to have really done their research. Like, yeah, they're going to say, oh, we've been scouting everything from afar. Don't get me wrong. But, like, if you're really focused on the team, you're not focusing on the coach. All of a sudden, things have gone bad. I feel like the Eagles will find a way to mess it up and hire another Nick Sirianni, because they're not going to hire they're not going to hire a Belichick, anybody who wants any type of power or anybody who's a hot name right now. They're just not going to do it with all the issues that you come with here. So I think it would be smart of them. As much as I'm tired of the Sirianni shtick, I don't think it's the right time to do it. You just kind of have to ride it out, and then. But this year's coaching class is good now. It's
especially if you get Harbaugh out, which it really looks like. I think somehow someone. The betting odds have him with the Chargers and then back to college. Yeah. So it could be hit or miss there. But yeah, you got Harbaugh now, Belichick. Obviously, Vrabel is, I think, a very attractive candidate. Dan Quinn's going to be out there. He's going to be attractive.
Seattle, yeah.
Who else am I missing?
So Gerard Mayo is right now the front runner in New England, but I think other people think that Vrabel would be the guy.
Yeah, it's between them two. I do. I heard
Antonio Pierce. The Titans want to interview him, and the Raiders haven't given up. So there's Harbaugh. Pete Carroll, is he retiring or does he still want to coach? I don't know. Bill Belichick's out there.
Belichick will coach. I watched that press conference.
Belichick will.
Right. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. And I asked this question the other night. I think he does. For some reason, the itch in me says he lands in Washington, but I'm hoping it's Atlanta. I saw some news down there. No, his relationship with the Blank family had it pointed to Atlanta, but Washington's close to the Naval Academy where he went. And
the only thing I saw something tonight that says that the Washington's not interested.
Okay. Are they going to be enemy?
I don't know. It just says that they're not considering bringing in Belichick.
Okay. But I started this with the Sirianni talk, though. Yeah, and we'll get into other coaches in a minute. So your point is well taken. I do think, that's an awesome way to look at it, too, to say, hey, you fire a coach after 3 successful seasons, 3 playoff trips, 1 Super Bowl trip. And why would anybody want to come in under that type of reign or ownership? Really micromanagement. It's a great point. You're only going to get duds unless there was some absolute gem out there that you had this relationship with that was ready for it. And I'm with you. There's nobody. Bill wants control of the player personnel. Harbaugh wants control of the player personnel. Anybody with some semblance of a coaching history or championship pedigree, it's going to want a little piece of that. Howie won't let it happen. So we're just going to keep pulling these duds that we don't know about. It's just the fact of the matter. So I'm with you. I mean, I think it's possible. He's on the hot seat. And I'll just say this, and but I do tend to agree with you. They can puppet him another year. They can choose his coordinators. It's likely he stays. And I think wholeheartedly, with that type of resume, you probably should stay.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. I think the message is lost on the team. I do. I think there's a good chance that the message is lost.
Yeah,
and they're not listening anymore. But you have to weigh your options, and I think you have a better chance of trying to resurrect. Or next year, if the wheels keep falling apart, then you start over, and you have some young players that you can keep and build around. And you're stuck with Jalen. You have AJ's contract. You hopefully re-sign Devontae. I mean, I think the priority should actually be to re-sign Devontae over everything. Tear apart the defense, start over again with a lot of those pieces. You still have a good offensive line, and you go from there. Yeah, I kind of think that's the way you look at it.
Our buddy Dave checking in. He always drops a good expo stat for us, so I appreciate you checking in. But yes, I agree. I think it's, if it's not the Chargers, it's nowhere in the NFL. And the reason
You don't think the Raiders?
No, well, okay, potentially. So this is the stuff I read. The one danger of the Chargers is the Spanos family does like to have a little bit of their hands in the mixing bowl, where Davis he'll go away, he'll let you coach. He let McDaniels fail for 3 years. So Raiders are attractive from that standpoint of someone that wants a little bit of autonomy and full control. So yeah, and you know what? The Raiders are still playing. I just feel like, how can you let Pierce go after what he did at the end of the year? And they're going to let him go if they don't get, like you said, he's getting some interviews out there. Pierce would fit in perfect with Tennessee, that type of defensive minded, and that division sucks. So it would be a good spot. But yeah, I hear you, David. I do think Harbaugh, I think he leaves. I think he goes to the NFL. What do you think?
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, that would be the ideal situation. Again, I feel like LA is the most ideal situation. Just get somebody with half a brain to coach that team. That team's got too much talent to be as bad as they are. It makes no sense whatsoever. Like, you were given, on paper, they're one of the best teams from top to bottom, between offense and defense, and yet they are subpar. And it just makes no sense. For Herbert with a gunslinging arm like his, Keenan Allen. I mean, and don't get me wrong, they fight the injury bug too. But even still, even when they're fully healthy, they lose close games. They always lose at the end. Mike Williams, Austin Eckler, Khalil Mack, Derwin James, Nick Bosa, Joey Bosa. They literally have one. They have I just said all defensive tier, running back, quarterback, 2 elite and wide receivers. Like, that's you're gifted. So I think Harbaugh would be smart to go to a team that has the blueprint. Now they just have to execute.
Yeah, no, 100%. So we'll see. Now I have some questions myself about Herbert long term. Just
sure.
I've always thought the arm, like you said, golden arm, but really he's got to take some accountability in those late losses. I mean, Staley for sure, but Herbert's made some questionable decisions along the way as well. So we'll have to see if he sharpens that up. But for sure, I'm with you. I think that is the most attractive job out there. All right, let's talk real quick here. I guess we hit most of the coaching carousel here. I know a lot more is going to come as we kind of move in, because you're not allowed to start talking to candidates till after this round. Ones that are, that are currently employed. So that's going to really open some things up. I heard Brian Johnson is getting a couple knocks on the door, right?
Carolina and Tennessee.
Yeah. So there is
I think if we're being honest, I think that's Rooney Rule. A lot to do with that, because I don't think he's done anything.
Yeah. I don't disagree with that. I think that is a possibility, but there's some other candidates that, like we said earlier, Bieniemy could be one, but
I haven't and that's been weird. I mean, seeing a report that Washington's not interested, that does got to make you think. Do you think Washington finally pulls the trigger? Do you think they looked at it last year and they're like, all right, maybe Rivera's on his way out? Now they have a great year, but they also don't believe in Sam Howell, so they are still quarterbackless. So I think them bringing him in last year was maybe like, we have a guy in-house that we could just move up the head coach if need be. That would be interesting. I know there's a lot of stuff. A lot of people don't like Bieniemy, but I think he's done enough as an offensive coordinator to get a shot at being a head coach. I don't know what his personal demeanor is, but yeah.
David, bring this. I just heard right before we got on the show, and I saw the score originally, but at one point, Chuck and Kenny told me OKC was up 62. 62 points over the Trailblazers. It was like 115 to like 50 something at one point. I don't know what it ended up.
It's bad. You ready? Yeah. 139 to 77.
139. So it was 62 again. So it landed on 62. Wow. Oh man, that's funny. Yeah, and the worst part, I think the Thunder played last night, so they're on back-to-backs rolling out. steamrolling that team. Thunder are real. They're real legit. I love everything about the Thunder. SGA, pretty much, a cast off from the Clippers for PG, right? At the time, because Kawhi had to have them. And then Chet being and Giddy, whatever.
I know. Nothing's been said about that.
Nope. Yeah,
nope.
But they do have some good players outside that too, like Dort and the Williams kids. Yeah, Thunder are legit. But all right, let's get into the NFL playoffs. Mark, I tried to pull up my sheet and trying to find. Do you have any record of where we went for division record and what? Okay. Awesome. Let's recap.
Well, I have my stuff, and I know.
We'll start with yours because I got my notebooks here. Let me see if I can find it.
Let me tell you, not a good year. Not a good year. This was not a good year. I went through the other day and I looked to see what I had in the playoffs. I'll tell you, I have 4 teams in the NFC, 3 teams in the AFC. That's how much, of a cluster this year was for me. Even when I talk about the order of the way things were, I'd say I pretty much had the NFC East. Just the Eagles and the Cowboys flipped. Eagles first, Cowboys second, but 12-5, 11-6, and that's how it panned out for there. But I'll tell you what.
Oh, I got mine. Okay, good.
I'm trying to see. I got the Lions as a division winner. The Bills as a division winner, which for most of the season didn't think that was going to happen. The Chiefs as a division winner. It's really bleak when it comes to my predictions for this season.
Yeah, you know what? I'm about the same as you. I some areas that I didn't have Jacksonville winning the division. I didn't have them making the playoffs, which would have really paid off. I did pick Houston to win in one other thing, just with good odds, but I didn't pick them here to win it. But yeah, I do have Baltimore, I do have Buffalo, I do have KC. I'm like you, not very not very profitable on the AFC side, but I have Buffalo in the Super Bowl.
Yes,
and you do too.
I do as well.
So we got a shot there. Right. On this side, Philly. The one thing I did pick Green Bay to make the playoffs. That was a good ping there. I had them winning the division, tying with Detroit. So, but still, that was good. And then other than that, none of us. Tampa Bay, I had last place.
Same. I had them. I had the South. The South actually was pretty tight, except for the Panthers. I had Tampa Bay at 4th place, 7-10.
Yeah.
But I mean, that really wasn't that much different. What were they, 9-8?
Yeah.
The winner there was 9-8 because it was the Falcons, Saints, and Bucs all had a chance the last week.
We're gonna get into this real quick. So hang on, because I'm really that's one of my favorite games of the weekend, if not my favorite. I mean, depending where you put the KC Miami game, that's right there. All right, let's get into it. Look, like we said, we hit about 50%. I guess I'm like 55%. 8 out of 14. You're 7 out of 14 teams. Time to make that back up here in our picks for the NFL playoffs. We're going to go through every single game here. We got a little bit of insight, a little bit of action. As always, mine could change. Follow Win Daily Sports. Follow my Twitter because as information becomes released, sometimes I like to look at where money moves, and it's hard to see where it does on Thursdays. But my gut and everything is ready to rock right now. So let's start with that first game of the weekend. I always feel like Houston plays the first game of the weekend when they make the playoffs.
Yeah,
but here they are, Cleveland, Houston.
Yeah, so Cleveland is I've seen 2.5-point favorite in Texas. I always feel like that's it's tough to bet against a home dog. This is a really tough game to call. I'll be honest, because I look at the two situations. You got Cleveland, who's had a hell of a season. The resurgence of Jim Schwartz as a defensive coordinator, that defense has been rolling. The return of Joe Flacco, making it work. They go down 4 starting QBs, end up with Flacco, who I think should be comeback player of the year. those are my thoughts on that.
Oh,
And
yeah.
you got the Texans, who CJ Stroud just continues to make it happen, continues to make it work. They've been dealing with injuries at receiver and, Nico Collins and, what's his face? The running back didn't pan out, but Devin Singletary, who was a cast off from
Damian
Buffalo.
Pierce. Yeah.
Damian Pierce, who again was, a fantasy favorite last year. Devin Singletary comes in. The Texans have made this work. D'Amico Ryans. I love it. This is really tough. I love the story in Cleveland. I'm not gonna lie. If Cleveland really makes some noise, like, I'm gonna follow it. Like, the whole Joe Flacco thing has been captivating. I do think, in my heart of hearts, the Texans surprise and they win here at home with some CJ Stroud magic, and he really, cements his case as the offensive rookie of the year. Like, I'm not that I don't think that voting, I think voting is done for that anyway, but I'm just saying, like, I really think this will be kind of like, a low 20s, high teens game. Like, this could be like a, 23-21, Texans win. Not too exciting, but a very good game.
All right. So listen, these teams just paired off a couple weeks ago. And was in Houston, and the Browns won 36-22. Amari Cooper went for 265 alone receiving. It was a crazy game. Flacco's just been ripping it all around. Njoku again went off. Here's the thing, and I do believe I love this Houston team. I really do. Like you said, everything you hit on the head. D'Amico Ryans has been fantastic. I just think they're a little too depleted, I should say, at the star positions. This smells like a Houston kind of line. But I'm going Cleveland. I think the story is real. I think Flacco's real. And I think Cleveland has a destiny. And it's to play the Baltimore Ravens next week. And I just it's going to be must-see TV. I'm not telling you they're putting money in these refs' pockets to make it happen. But I'm telling you, I wouldn't be surprised if there's a few calls that go certain ways.
No, if they talk about the script, this is script.
That's a script. That's a script.
And it would be epic television. So
we're talking about Stafford going back to Detroit. We're talking about the Packers playing Mike McCarthy. We're talking about Tyreek going back to KC. Flacco back to Baltimore is happening next week. So I'm taking the Browns minus the 2. Anything under 3 really like. I just think the one deficiency Houston has is the pass defense. They rush the passer okay. They've been able to tighten up the rush defense, but you can move the ball through there against them. I think the Browns will take this one. So I'll lead off with the second game here on the slate Saturday. You got to have Peacock TV, baby, to get this one. I think it's Peacock, right? Or
it is Peacock. Yeah. Yep.
I think I got it too, so I'll be all right. Definitely a golfer that I am. I think I had to get it for the U.S. Open. Man, this spread started, I think, under 3, and then it's starting to shoot up. Chiefs now 4.5, and I'm going with the Dolphins. And one of my biggest reasons behind this is, for one, this KC team isn't the KC team of the past, right? We get that, we've seen it, and if you can be physical with them, you can really set the tone and start to change the game. The Raiders did not pass the ball once in the second half against them, ran it down their throats with Zamir White and Josh Jacobs just 3 weeks ago. Just 3 weeks ago, ran for 40 carries, 200-plus yards. You can do that, and what does Miami actually have? 3 really good backs. I think Jeff Wilson's also a good back with Devon Shane and Raheem Mostert. And I also think, if you remember what the Dolphins did last year, they started like some guy, I know he was from Kansas State. I half remember his name now. They were like 13-point dogs at Buffalo and almost pulled it off in the playoffs. They had 8 quarterbacks. It's going to come to me. Skylar.
Not Skylar
Thompson. Yep.
Was it Skylar Thompson?
I think it is. Yep. I'm pretty sure.
But I'm mixing him up with Thorson or whoever it was, the Eagles backup. Yeah, I think Skylar Thompson's right. Yeah,
and I mean, couldn't throw the ball 5 yards, but they almost win that game in Buffalo. Yeah. This dude has pride, this Mike McDaniels. This dude can coach. I don't know if they fully get it done, but 4.5 is too much for me. Give me the Dolphins 4.5.
Yeah, you know what? The funny thing is, I'm actually with you, because the thing is, I think this Chiefs team, and this would be an epic failure for Kansas City. The one reason why I think, honestly, if this game is in normal weather, it's Miami all day. But with
Yeah.
the conditions being what they are going to be, snow, like 0 degrees with, a minus 10-degree wind chill, it's going to be very, very, very cold. I think that's why KC has a chance here. But I think you hit it on the nose. They have backs that can do this, and I think they'll have fun with Tyreek Hill. I think he's going to be a factor. He's going to be a gadget player, and this is kind of the perfect scenario for him that he doesn't have to be an X receiver. He can come out of the backfield. I mean, they already run him through motion throughout. I think he's gonna get the ball a lot. I think he's gonna get carries. So I think they could, if they really wanted to, they could have Mostert and A-Chain or even Wilson and A-Chain and move Tyreek Hill in motion and confuse the Kansas City defense. Kansas City's, receivers have just been bad. They haven't been able to catch a cold. So I really think that Miami has a really good chance. So I would take the points here with Miami all day, every day. I think Miami wins this one outright.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I'm torn on that part because Tua, I mean, the guy just was terrible with the Buffalo game the other day. They had 14 and a half, ended with 14. So, but like you said, with the conditions, maybe it's less Tua and more Mostert, A-Chain, Wilson. So we'll see.
Yeah.
All right, Sunday, 1 p.m. That takes care of Saturday. Sunday,
Yes.
1 p.m. We get the Steelers and Bills 10-point game. What are you thinking?
I think the point's way too high. I know that what we're looking at is a Steelers team that just crept in, but Bills, who really almost didn't make the playoffs.
Yeah.
But are the 2 seed. They've been playing really inspired football. I mean, even in the loss against us, Josh Allen completely went off.
Yeah.
The points are just way too much Buffalo. So I would take the points here with the Steelers, but I like the Bills in this game. It's, the Bills are playing inspired football right now. I think Miami really took it to them on Sunday night, but just couldn't get it done. But I think the Bills take care of the Steelers here.
So minus 10? Who are you taking?
No, I think this is a touchdown win for the Bills. But
So you would take Bills outright and
Bills outright, Steelers with the points.
Yeah, I kind of believe in this Mason Rudolph. I don't know if it's just a flash of magic like the Jake Browning stuff, but I kind of believe, and I think the Steelers believe, and I think the one thing the Steelers have going for them right now is a 2-headed backfield, and those two have been really running the ball well. Najee Harris and Jalen Warren, high winds in Buffalo, up to 25 mile an hour, sustain. Some gusts going to be higher. It's going to be hard to throw the ball. Josh Allen, I think, will be able to do it with his arm. Mason, we'll see, but I think Mason can manage it enough. I think the rushing game from Pittsburgh, I think they're going to scare Buffalo. Buffalo, man, for every time you think they're ready to explode, they put up a stinker, and we'll go back to that Chargers game. The Chargers got beat by freaking 40 points to the Raiders, had Easton Stick at quarterback, and took Buffalo every minute to beat them. The following week. So yeah, I'm gonna say Buffalo wins it, but I'll take Steelers. And the reason I will say I'll go KC outright and other one, even though I'm taking the points, because I still need my Flacco thing to happen. If KC wins, then the Flacco thing doesn't happen because
right.
I mean, if Miami wins, because Miami's the 6th seed. So yeah, I'm gonna go with that.
So you're taking Pittsburgh with the points.
I am. So now I'm gonna go to the 4:00 game. And listen, I was a Green Bay guy earlier this year. I said I was Green Bay guy, wrote the article, Win Daily Sports. I just big on them this year. They came through for me. But more importantly, Jordan Love came through. This guy, since week 11, 18 touchdowns, 1 interception. Do you know who threw the second most touchdowns in the league? Jordan Love, 31. Unbelievable. Like, yeah, you wouldn't guess that, except I've already led off with my Jordan Love, and the way he's played. And I do think, when they've kind of like hit the brakes here and had problems, it's been when they were more favored. They've played pretty good as dogs. They beat Kansas City. They beat Detroit on Thanksgiving. And even last week, a lot of people thought that Chicago would give it to them. I think Green Bay is a live dog in this one. I know how good Dallas is at home. I get it. Like, they're awesome at home, but it's Mike McCarthy. It's playoffs. Dallas chokes a lot. Don't forget they're blowing out bad teams at home. When a good team came in like Seattle and tested them, and Green Bay's better than Seattle, they almost lost. I'll take Green Bay with the points.
Yeah, I hate to do this, but I'm going to go Dallas. I think that Cowboys are feeling themselves a little bit. They're sniffing themselves, and I think they're going to get through Green Bay. I think they're going to take care of business at home. You talk about all the rumors with, are the Cowboys the mystery team that's in on Belichick if they get off to a slow start in the playoffs, or they get bounced, or they don't play well. I think they're going to ride that for this game, but I think they're going to make it through to the next round, and then they're going to meet their surmise because they can't hang with any real teams. I think the Green Bay's been a good story, but I think that Cowboys will just, have their last hurrah of the season.
All right. Yeah. No, and listen, these Cowboys,
you can go either way. I mean, it's
they're very hard to handicap. So I get it. They're so good at home. So we will see. But that leaves you to opening it up for us for this night game, which David was talking about earlier. His Rams and Stafford goes to Detroit.
I'll tell you what, the Rams are the team that you don't want to face right now. They're playing good football at the right time. Lions, they played hard this season, and I mean, this is going to be a dogfight, and it's really the cinema in this. Stafford returning to Detroit as the Rams quarterback. It's going to be an absolutely fantastic game. I think it's going to be the best played game of the weekend with everything. I do think that the hardest game was the Browns and Texans to pick. But this game, I think, is going to be the best executed game. But I think Dan Campbell might be the demise for the Lions here. You want to talk about live dogs? I think the Rams are live dogs here. I think Matthew Stafford being healthy, Puka, Cooper, Kyron Williams, I think they just have things going in the right direction. I like the Rams to go in there and play upset.
I agree. I fully agree. Look, the Rams are, I think, don't hold me to it. I want to say 7-1, if not they're 6-1, whatever, over the last 7 or 8 games. The one lost Baltimore,
right?
Overtime. They played one of the best teams, if not the best team in the NFL, because we saw what they did to San Francisco. Right down to the end of it, they're playing great football, and their strengths are Detroit's weaknesses. And I just think the Rams are going to show up in this game, like you said earlier, and for all the offensive weapons they have, where does Detroit stop them? But then in the end, what does Dan Campbell do dumb to ruin this team's chances? And he's going to do it. It's like paying taxes. Dan Campbell's going to do something dumb. As much as I'd love to play for him, and we all know he's coached a good team, he does these things. Yeah, Rams outright. I'm with you. I'm taking the 3 Rams outright. And then that may put them up in San Francisco, which is wow. Seriously, if that happens, that San Fran LA is a great next weekend game too.
That is, yeah. I mean, these playoffs really have the chance to be great playoffs. When we look at it from top to bottom, not what we expected, but could get some really good surprises out of it. And especially with the way that everything lined up this year has just been something else. It's hard to predict, as you and I, usually we hit on out of the 14 teams, I feel like we usually have 10.
Oh yeah. Yep.
This year, 7 and 8. That's
we've had Super Bowl winners. We've had Super Bowl matchups. Yeah. This year, well, it's not great. And I think mine was Philly Buffalo. So I'm not really hanging my hat on that. But let's go to the Monday night special, the one you've all waited for. That's the Philadelphia Eagles visit Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And as we've kind of been in misery together and sat there and analyzed what has been a absolute devastating last month of football for the Philadelphia Eagles nation, they got a chance to reverse all that in one game, in one night. And my feeling is this. I don't think the Bucs are great. And I think we all know that. And the Eagles did display some dominance over them early in the season. And then the Bucs, as much as they won 5 out of 6 to end of the season, I mean, 9 points against Carolina. Come on. I mean, Carolina's D's okay, but come on, right? So I think the Eagles are going to find a way. And I say this, Jason Kelce, they're not going to let that guy go out. He actually stepped up and talked this week and said, we're playing like shit and we need to stare at each other and fix it. Like, he's man enough to say it, then point to the beginning of the season and actually use that as a crutch. No, he knows that crutch has been kicked out, and we need to stand up on our own. And I think for one night they're going to do it. They're going to stand up and they're going to fight. Now, why I say they win and they cover is because it's the worst case scenario for the Philadelphia Eagles, because then they will go to Dallas next week and get their doors blown off. So I almost rather them lose this weekend than that happen. Right. But that's been this season. It's there to stab us, and the fatal blow will be next week. But for one night, we'll give Jason Kelce another chance. And for one night, we'll look half the team we were at the beginning of the season. Eagles win. I'm going to say 24-20.
Yeah, you kind of took everything that I was thinking and going with. Like the last 6 weeks have been a swift kick in the D for us. It's been our defense has been atrocious. The offense been anemic. It's been horrible to watch. But really, I think we're going to look at it. Most other matchups, I'm saying it's a loss. Like, you looking at the other teams, I think the Eagles got the best card dealt for the playoffs in the NFC out of anybody, because I think Green Bay gives us issues.
Yep.
Obviously, Dallas, Detroit, LA, San Francisco, they all give us issues. I think Tampa Bay is the only team that can't give us issues. Now, the one caveat, the one thing they have going for them and what they're going to do, and they've done it in the past to us in the playoffs, and they're going to do it again, they're going to blitz. Now,
and Bills does that. Yep.
Right. They are the third most blitzing team. The two most above them are Minnesota and New York. They obviously, we just saw it 2 out of the last 4 weeks. We saw it from the Giants. So if they're smart, they're watching the tape, they're picking up blitz protection, they're picking up pass protection. They got to run 2 tight ends out there if they have to. They have to do it, or they have to have 2 players in the backfield, what have you. Protect Jalen at all costs. It's not about his injury. It's about getting him time to get the ball out of the pocket. And they have to start being creative. They have to go quick plays. I don't know if it's in their arsenal. They have to go quick plays. They have to go across the middle. They got to stop chunking these deep balls down the sideline, hoping for pass interference. They can't go that route. So the one thing that Tampa Bay can do is they can blitz us. One thing that's in our favor is Baker, who's been having a really good season for them, Baker Mayfield. And I gotta say, I've enjoyed watching him play football for them. I'm happy for them. I think he's earned himself, another year or two in Tampa Bay, and I think he deserves it. He's hurt. He's very hurt right now. He's having a hard time walking. Yeah. His ribs or he has rib issues, so he's not going to be as efficient. Because the thing is, if he is efficient, Mike Evans and Chris Godwin could have a field day on us. It's definitely a possibility. Rachaad White, we're going to see a lot. This Eagles run defense, what they've been known to do up until the last 6 weeks, they've been good at stopping the run. They need to find that, pull it down within themselves. At the end of the day, I do think the Eagles cover as well. I think the Eagles take care of business. They give us false hope, and then
that's it.
If it lines up that we have to play San Fran, that's going to be as brutal as it gets.
Oh, they're not there. There's no mercy. Yeah.
I like the Eagles here 28-21.
Nice.
In Tampa Bay, they cover, but it's going to be a fleeting feeling.
Yeah, I'm with you. All right, we got a few minutes left here in the show to wrap up a couple quick minutes on each team around. Let me pass this one quick to you. Cutter Gauthier or Gauthier or whatever you want to say with the Canadian accent, even though he is an American player, has decided he didn't want to join the Flyers, and the Flyers abruptly moved on and brought over Drysdale from Anaheim, a young defenseman who already contributed last night with an assist. But the Gauthier kind of music or this story behind it is really going to resonate in Philadelphia JD Drew type history. And it's already starting to, light up the airwaves. It's already started to light up the Twitter. Mark, he's going to get what he deserves. I don't get why people make this decision. And to me, deep down inside, it'll come out, but it's got to be agent based. It's got to be something behind the scene. If it's Tortorella, I don't get it because the coaches aren't forever. It's got to be something his agent.
Mix of things. I think it's a mix of things from all the things that have been leaked out. This story, one, I think hockey is working its way back into Philadelphia, which is a good thing. The team is still in a rebuild, but they're playing above what they've been able to do. They're halfway through the season. They're on pace for 96 points. They've been playing really well, good hockey, and it's good to see. They have options. They have things that they can do. This is a slight step back in the long-term plan. But when you look at the trade, Jamie Drysdale, from what I've heard, he's a right-handed defenseman who is kind of like the quarterback of the defense unit. So it's kind of a good thing. He's obviously already contributed. Coming in here, he seems excited. We also got a 2025 second-round pick. Obviously not the value of a fifth overall pick, a guy with the ceiling of Cutter Gauthier, because I remember hearing Al Morganti rave about him when they drafted him, about what he could be. But in hockey, again, it's like baseball. Hockey more realistic than baseball. Like baseball is one of the most far off. Like you could be a number one, then you could be nothing at all. Hockey, I feel like, is the second furthest away. So you could either be really great like Connor McDavid, or you could, be Noah Patrick. Like it's one of those types of things. But yeah, he kind of has to be Sidney Crosby now. He has to be amazing now because he's already put a target on his back. He said when he was drafted here, Danny Briere was in the system. He wasn't set up as the GM yet, but he said, "I'm built to be a Flyer." He said, "I'm built to be a Flyer." Okay, cool.
That's why they picked him. Yep.
Because he wanted to get drafted high enough. I don't know how hockey works, but I'm thinking it's probably similar to the others, like based on where your draft slot is, you get X amount of dollars. So obviously you're not going to tarnish yourself and say, "Hey, I'm not going to play for you," when that happens. So he said that. And then in May, they couldn't get in touch with him. They flew out to Sweden to go talk to him for one of the junior championships, tournaments that US was in. And he wanted absolutely nothing to do with them. He declined calls from John LeClaire, Patrick Sharp. There was somebody else too, obviously, brass like Jones and Briere. And then after this past juniors that they just played, he ignores them again and is like, "I'm not doing it." Gotcha. Anyway, push come to shove, it's going to be really bad. He's got to be amazing. If not, he's going to get ripped for the rest of his career for what he's been doing, because it's a really bad look. Like, I agree with you. It's agent driven. He also, there is a video of him saying that he's a Penguins fan and that he was, he literally said, "I don't know if playing for Philly is going to work out well." And this was in a USA video. So,
yeah. Well,
dude,
I don't care. I get your point, but he doesn't have to be a superstar for this not to work out well. Even if he is, it's going to work out terrible for him. So, we'll see. We'll see how it unveils and unfolds. Let's talk Sixers real quick. The big news for me here is still can't win without Embiid. Last night, terrible. I mean, some bad calls at the end of the game. Maxey gets ripped. They don't call it, and then they found him out in overtime, and the Hawks go on a 10-0 run. But more importantly, Embiid's down to he's going to be out tomorrow night against Sacramento. I think he's got about 8 more games left that he can miss, and then he won't qualify for the MVP. I understand the health is important, but, an MVP, whatever. He's already had one. But
I was going to say, I don't think he's as focused on it. I mean, there's been no chatter about him being there's been chatter from Nationals saying that, like, he's playing like an MVP. But I hope that he's just like, yeah, I want it. I'm worried about being healthy, and I think that's
that's my concern, because it's Joe and it's MVP, and he definitely has admired that trophy for a few years now, and then finally got one. He might want to admire it again, and so I just hope he doesn't rush himself back. Because all I'm getting at, Sixers kind of like, they're not going to get up to the Milwaukee, Boston level just because of Embiid not being there. But they settle in 3 and have enough distance there, they'll be all right. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's fine. I think we got to let Embiid heal up. I know there was contradicting reports about this is a 4 to 6 week thing. This isn't a 4 to 6 week thing. I don't know. I just hope he's not focused on the MVP again. But he's playing better than last year.
Yes, he is. He's putting up
And
some
it's in
crazy
our
numbers.
system.
So, lastly, the Philadelphia Phillies signed a few players for arbitration today. Ranger obviously being one. One that's sneaky good. I think the Jeff Hoffman signing is nice. Yeah, really liked him last year, and I think that he can even be better. His slider is filthy. So, still another shooter drop. I mean, I'm hearing some things, some other places, but I'm intrigued by potentially now moving on to Jordan Montgomery. I got to see what it would cost, what it would take. He's a little older, so I don't want to get too deep because I want to give Zach Wheeler some good money. But I'm now at the point that I want to start it. That's where I'm at. Yeah. And I don't necessarily want to trade my assets because Painter's coming back, mid-season. Don't know if he'll come to the big team, but I feel like Jordan Montgomery's the guy. But we'll see. What do you think? Any other news out there you're looking at?
I saw something that they're interested in a swingman type, like a Matt Strom, which if that's all they do, that would not be good because I don't know what they're going to do on the offensive side. So really doesn't bode well. I don't know if they have any, there is a report that Dave Dombrowski said, we got stuff left in the tank. We're going to do it. But
there's not much out there.
I think maybe Blake Snell.
Wow. That would be, wow.
The Yankees just signed Stroman. So that means that they pivoted away from Snell. So now that's the one less team that's
true.
Involved.
Depends on the price. All right, that wraps it up for Fourth and Go here on the Heat Ratio Sports Network. Talking about Heat Ratio Sports, Tony Cotillo coming up with the night show here just a minute after ours, talking all things Philly sports. He's got a few cool topics going on too. Make sure you hit like and subscribe. I'm Dave Gluckner. That's Mark Tomasini. Fly, Eagles, fly. Go Birds. Regardless of the outcome, we'll be back next Thursday to talk it up, that and more. Until then, have a great one.